And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Monday, December 9th, 2024. And we have a fair amount still going on across the state of Alaska. Another North Pacific low is going to be crossing the eastern Aleutians and the lower portion of the Alaska Peninsula up into the Bering Sea tomorrow. With another front that'll be eventually pushing out into the Gulf, very similar to what's currently going on. It'll bring wind, areas of rain at sea level, some snow, higher elevations, and a little bit of an icy mix in a few areas. This will be along areas of the west coast into parts of the interior and then along the Gulf Coast. Still looking like, though, a batch of Arctic air is going to sneak in, what we call kind of like a backdoor cold front, coming in from the Canadian Arctic coast across the Yukon and pushing westward across the interior this weekend. And just a couple of astronomical notes coming up here. The full cold moon of December occurs Saturday, the 15th, and following Saturday, actually just past midnight Friday night and early Saturday morning, the winter solstice for the Northern Hemisphere arrives there. It'll be early, like 12:20 a.m. There on the 21st of December. Well, a quick check of some FAA webcams across the state. Kivalina, overcast and breezy, 36 degrees. We've had temperatures rise to or above the freezing mark all the way north to Point Hope. And that milder air continues to push northward. Anvik has seen a few sprinkles of rain this Monday afternoon with temperatures around 40 degrees after some heavier snow yesterday. And then Denali Park, Chinook winds, south winds on the north side are creating warmer temperatures, gusty winds, 47 degrees there at the entrance of Denali Park. And Portage Glacier, high winds and rain this morning. There was a measured wind gust prior to 8 a.m. of 85 miles an hour. This afternoon, some periods of rain, fog, very windy conditions, 42 degrees. And as far as what we have going on here in terms of hazardous weather warnings, advisories, of note, the high wind warning for the areas around Girdwood on over toward the hills, east hills of Anchorage in through the Chugach that are east of Anchorage, will be allowed to expire 4 p.m., but still some gusty winds along the east side of Anchorage and up there along the Chugach. Some localized wind gusts 60, 70 miles an hour could persist into the early evening, but that will be allowed to expire. We have a wind advisory across the central Alaska range, including Denali Park, Helion over toward Isabel Pass. Still some wind gust up around 60 miles an hour through the gaps. We've seen temperatures in Fairbanks back up around or just above freezing with those downslope winds coming off the Alaska range. Those gusty winds, a little bit of light snow up around Gobbler's Knob coming up through the lower Dalton Highway. Still a winter weather advisory in effect until mid-evening. And then we have a winter weather advisory for blowing snow, Point Thompson, Kaktovik until midnight tonight. The action continues here in the West Coast. These are winter storm warnings and into the interior. Kaltag, Ruby, Galena. Still potential for some moderate to heavy snowfall. It could even mix with a little bit of freezing rain or rain. And that's going to continue until 9 a.m. Tuesday morning. Same thing for the higher hills and small mountains there north of Nome and Gullivan. This area here could pick up several inches of snow along with a light mix or glaze of some freezing rain. Winter weather advisory around Kotzebue Sound on up toward Kivalina through 3 a.m. For 3 a.m. Tuesday morning. Mainly due to some gusty winds and a light mix of precipitation. And then blizzard warning here from Point Hope to Point Lay will continue at least until mid-evening due to strong gusty winds blowing the snow around. Though, as I mentioned, temperatures have risen to at least the freezing mark now all the way north to Point Hope. Another quick thing to check in on, Alaska Avalanche Information Center for today. The greatest higher danger for avalanches is here in the area around Turnagain Pass and Summit Lake in that northeast quadrant of the Kenai Peninsula. Due to recent heavier snowfall, falling temps, strong winds, those factors all come together. but that would be about the only notable location there for a higher than normal avalanche danger that'll continue into Tuesday morning. So on the weather map, we have another one of these big, broad, influential weather systems. There's been several now since fall. The actual low center is out here toward and just southwest of St. Matthew, but this broad shield of higher, cooler cloud tops and then the moisture being pushed northward along with the warmer air. Most notable, and we have a secondary, the initial front two coming out now across the Gulf, pushing into the Panhandle. We have yet another low coming up out of the North Pacific down here. It's going to take a very similar track, similar positioning of the front as we go through midweek, though not quite as strong as the current system. Nevertheless, it's there. So I use the satellite image. Notice now this time of year, because we're nearing the solstice, we're at that maximum darkness up there across the Arctic. You can't see the clouds, but here in the southern areas you can see the popcorn variety of the showers along the lower Bering Sea into the North Pacific. So here's the first low, 968 millibar now, low that's just southwest of St. Matthew. Included front pushing inland, extending down into the Gulf. Another little impulse or wave coming, rotating around this, and then here comes yet the next low, a 964 low out of the North Pacific. Late tonight, early on Tuesday morning, the low that's out towards St. Matthew pulls a little further west. The fronts that have pushed inland kind of wash out into troughs. And then we have the next second low coming up at 959 millibars. And then on Tuesday, the low center kind of splits and that energy pulls back to the north and west like the first one. That's the remnants of the low we're talking about this afternoon. Here comes the next one. And we'll find that this front will extend and push eastward and northward again. And by the time we get into Wednesday, we have a weaker low, secondary low out just over the lower Gulf, North Pacific, and this front weakening into a trough. The second low now is in a similar position just southwest of St. Matthew, bringing in some lighter precipitation, not a big, heavy precipitation producer, but still some active weather going on. And as we transition beyond the mid-month, what's going to be watching is there's a batch of Arctic air up here. And it's going to come back toward the southwest. And right now it's looking like over the weekend, starting Friday, but especially Saturday and Sunday, there's going to be a little shot of Arctic air move from the Yukon Northwest Territories westward. And it's going to come between the Alaska, the core of it's going to become between the Brooks Range and the Alaska Range, heading through Norton Sound and pushing into the Bering Sea as we go through the course of the weekend, Sunday into Monday. So that will bring some briefly colder temperatures in through this region across the interior, and you'll even feel it further south down into Anchorage. We anticipate temperatures to cool down by the weekend. So looking at readings for lows, we're looking above freezing throughout the Panhandle. Readings lower 40s, Sitka down through Klawock, Craig, and Metlakatla. Look at these readings staying around or just above 40 along areas of Shelikof Strait, Lower Cook Inlet, around Kodiak and Homer. Even temperatures not still hanging near the freezing mark overnight tonight along Norton Sound, 34 there at Nome, 33 Emonic. And then high temperatures for Tuesday afternoon. Panhandle generally in the 40s, even a few upper 40s. Back here, Anchorage Bowl up to Talkeetna, upper 30s. It was already at least 41, 42 in Anchorage, so the milder air, gusty winds allowed for that. A little downslope from the easterly winds coming in off the higher terrain to the east. But here, look across the southwest interior. We have Bethel on up toward, Anvik, upper 30s near 40 degrees, 35 McGrath, 38, say, Shaktoolik, Unalakleet, and then 37 there at Nome, 37 Emonic. So even 35 up there, Point Hope, Cape Lisburn. So this is a mild weather system, and that trend will continue here through the midweek before we start to get that colder air coming in along the Alcan border and heading westward Friday into Saturday. But this is leading up to that. Friday morning lows will stay above freezing in the Panhandle. Few single digits, your normal cold spots like Eagle, or I should say down toward Northway, Tok, Chicken, could be near or just above zero. Same thing around Fort Yukon Arctic Village. But even along the Arctic coast, temperatures have come up quite a bit. And the Chukchi Sea coast, the lower Chukchi Sea coast, south of Point Hope there in the mid-upper 20s, and then we still near freezing mark there, Nome for the overnight low Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And temperatures on Wednesday afternoon still mild, relatively speaking, 40s, mid-upper 40s here, southern western coastline there of the Panhandle. Some readings in the teens here. Normal cold spots, Yukon Flats, north way up to Arctic Village and along the Beaufort Sea coast, but those systems have pumped milder air up and along the southwest interior, Alaska range, west side of the state. There is a little modification to it, not quite as warm as it was today and then for Tuesday, but nevertheless, these are above normal temperatures for this time of year. And looking at the 6 to 10 day outlook, December 15th through the 19th is indicating that temperatures should average above normal over southwest southern Alaska, especially south of the Alaska range. I don't think this completely took into account this little shot of colder air coming eastward. It's definitely going to be more felt into this region between the Brooks Range and Alaska Range, but overall that'll be the trend. The mildest or best chance of above normal temperatures will be the Alaska Peninsula, areas around and inland from Bristol Bay. Near normal temperatures, the Panhandle up into the interior and the far north. And then precipitation is supposed to average above normal along and south of the Alaska Range, including areas around Cook Inlet, the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, Copper River Basin, down into the Panhandle. So this just still keeps lows and low pressure impulses, the energy that lift out of the North Pacific with some added moisture, and you fling that in along the coast. Some of that pushes inland. So at least mid-month and just a little beyond, December 15th through the 19th, precipitation should average above normal over the southern mainland and Panhandle, while averaging below normal across the Brooks Range, especially through the North Slope and along areas of the Arctic coast.